Well, guess it really helps if I hit the go live button. So you missed the entrance song. I apologize for that. I know that the entrance song is the best part of the show, and then it just kind of goes downhill from there. I'm your host at Hot BFF with 2Ps. As always, joined not from my left this time, but from Springfield, Dan Thury. Welcome back, I guess, to both of us.
Yeah, I guess we got our a much needed rest, so to speak.
Yep. So I want to address that early on. So it's worth saying. A lot of people don't realize that, not just us, but a lot of the fantasy football community, a lot of the podcasts you listen to, really outside of the fantasy footballers, and outside of the ones that have a big name tied to them, most of us do this in our spare time. We do it for fun, which I'm going to put in air quotes because, the truth is that kind of hasn't been fun here lately. So we needed a little bit of a recharge, and, you just kind of get worn down by things after, 60-hour work weeks and overnights. And then on recording days, it's basically 14-hour days between the time you maybe get up for work, go put in an 8-hour shift, come home, do the research, put the notes together, record the show, get everything uploaded and put together. And those are some long days, and they can take a toll. And, by the time we missed Wednesday's episode, we were April 2017, I think, had done content pretty much once, twice, or 3 times a week. And we still had the Monday show. But had not missed a scheduled show in 3-ish years, and even when one of us weren't here, just uploading content and whatever. And it wears, and every season it's a bit of a grind. I don't know about you though. I feel re-energized.
Yeah, I'm out for it. Let's do it. It's tough on us. We're glad to be back. I know that, during the season, it's a lot harder for most of us because we're not doing something new every week.
No,
it's a lot of the rehashing of storylines. It's supposed to be allowed to talk about starting sits, waiver claims, and cuts, and all that good stuff. It really just becomes the same thing.
It feels just like you're filling in boxes. Pretty much. You're filling in boxes with names that you may not even have something to say anything about, just because you need to fill in boxes.
Yeah, so for us, it's something that we've always really enjoyed the off season, and we like in season, and we love engaging with you guys out there, the ones that are listening, and we hope that after this season we'll get really, really rejuvened, and we have a lot of fun and cool ideas coming up.
Yep, we got some cool ideas, some fun ideas coming up. Things are going to be a changing after this year, but I think it'll be for the better, so stay tuned for that. For everybody that stayed with us, thank you. We know we haven't been able to pay all the attention to social media that we used to, all the attention promoting this thing. We've definitely kind of seen it in the viewership and really the chat, the live stream attendance and all of that, which is on Sunday mornings, by the way, 11 a.m. So those of you that have stuck with us, that continue to interact on Twitter, continue to show up for that, thank you. We try to tweak things every year to try and make it fun again, but I feel more so going into this off season that we more know what it is that we need to do to make this fun again. So
yeah, exactly.
All right, that's enough of me whining. So mention YouTube live streams, Beerfield Fantasy Football there, Beerfield FF, Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped. Getting you caught up with some of the little bets we put on our starts and sits every week. Week 8 ended in a tie. I didn't hit on Gesicki. I did hit on the Steelers DST. We ended up equal. So no punishments there. As far as this week, it is pending Monday night, and more specifically, it is pending whether Josh Allen can get knocked out of the top 12. So that's what we're waiting on. Tied right now.
Huh. Interesting. Oh, by the way, Kyle, shout us out. He said that we're the second most handsome fantasy football host on YouTube.
Oh, sweet.
So we appreciate you, Kyle. Always.
I do appreciate you. And we'll try to catch Jake eventually, but wait, was he talking about him?
He's probably talking about him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's probably him and Jake together.
That's all fair.
Shout out to the headliners.
If it's a I forget what the word I'm looking for. A summation of the handsomeness on a show. Headliners definitely has us beat. So shout out to those guys. All right. So we'll let you know Wednesday how that turns out. Again, that's pending Josh Allen falling out of the top 12, which would qualify him as a win for me in the city, sitting on the bubble at quarterback 12 right now.
they said that the counselor's number one. Oh,
and that's all the airtime we're giving to the counselor.
Yes, that's it. He gets one mention. That's it.
Oh, Joseph. Or whatever his name is.
Joseph Roberts.
That's it, Joseph Roberts. All right. Anyway, normal whatever day it is show. Monday. That's the day it is. So we'll hit a beer review, preview. Still can't figure those two things out. Get into some news, some hangovers, have some conversations that I'm a little bit excited for, a few of them. Twitter was blowing up over some stuff that I actually want to discuss. And then we'll hit waivers and cuts and all that fun stuff. But before we get started, let's talk about what we're drinking.
What's fueling Beer Fueled?
All right, Dan, you got some gimmies.
So I got 450 North Brewing. Their zombie nuggets. This is part of their Halloween lineup that they did for this year for their corn maze. 450 North is out of Indianapolis. It's out of Columbus, Indiana.
Yeah, it's like an hour. Yeah, I think it's like an hour outside of Indy.
Yeah, it's out of North. It's out of Columbus, Indiana. It was actually the brewery that we hit up when we were making our way to the Midwestern Convention. So one of our regulars
Midwest
came
Fantasy Football Expo.
That's right.
I want to make sure we get the name right. In case Bob
we should. Shout out to Bob Lon.
Yeah.
Always.
Yep. And that's actually where we got to hang out with Kyle last.
Exactly. And put on probably our best show of the year.
Yep, for sure. All right. Wait, did you get a description of that yet?
It is a double dry hop, double IPA with Citra Mosaic Cairo.
All right, and I am drinking Joe Madden's Try Not to Suck German-style lager. This was given to me by another fellow Cubs fan. So, gonna go ahead and take a break from the barrel-aged stuff this week. I felt like something lighter after some heavy drinking on Saturday. So, yeah, it's a 4.8% German-style lager, and we'll let you know what we think about these before we do the waivers and cuts. Let's get into the news. And there's definitely some news.
News.
All right, probably one of our more robust, non-injury related news segments in a while. Going to lead it off with the NFL suspending running back Mark Walton for 4 games after he violated the league's personal conduct policy. This is related to his 3 off-season arrests, so not quite at 1 game per arrest.
Jesus.
So,
I mean, that's really all I got to say about Mark Walton and his.
It's relevant though because it's a Dolphins starting running back.
But how much is that actually worth?
It's worth a dart throw, which I'll get to here in a little bit. But, yeah.
Names.
Yep. Nope. I'll talk about it in waivers. Okay. Make people keep listening.
No. I'm saying
it's what we call a teaser.
Just names. Yeah. Just names.
Yeah. Although one I like more than others.
Yes, I agree.
Panthers claimed wide receiver Dante Moncrief after he was released from the Steelers late last week. I don't see him threatening anybody here.
Yep.
Bill Callahan continues to play coy and not name a Week 11 starter because, wouldn't want to strike the fear in the hearts of your opponents by naming Colt McCoy, Case Keenum, or Dwayne Haskins.
That's fun.
Bruce Arians has stated Ronald Jones has earned the right to start and play more snaps. This I agree with. While neither Bucs running back can really run the ball between the tackles, which has been a consistent, we're in now like year 3 or 4 of that for the Bucs. Jones has been the more explosive guy on the outside, has been able to chuck off some big plays, especially in the receiving game. And I do think he has earned the right to see some more snaps, some more touches, and just a higher opportunity share to see what he can do.
He's turned it right for majority of this season. I'm surprised it took him until now.
He's got week-to-week flex value.
Yeah, I mean, he's in an offense that's going to likely see a lot more red zone opportunities than most. So he's got a chance to score. at least on any given game.
Week to week flex value is more than I can say about Peyton Barber.
Yeah.
Kyle Allen has been named the Panthers' Week 10 starter against Oakland. Cam Newton's going to continue to try to rehab, but it'll be Kyle Allen again in Week 10.
Yep.
Josh Gordon was cut from the Patriots late last week, later claimed by the Seahawks. Past his physical, he's going to begin practicing with the team. So first major conversation here. It's time for the fantasy community, I think, to recalibrate a little bit on Josh Gordon. And I'm far from the first person to say this, but ever since he made his return in Cleveland, he's going to be a wide receiver one. Sell the farm for him. Holy crap, everybody freak out. And then it didn't pan out there. And then he goes to New England, and it doesn't pan out there. And now he's headed to Seattle, and we know that they can make deep threat receivers and big play receivers relevant, and Josh Gordon definitely is a big play receiver. They're probably going to have the best physical tandem of outside receivers you can have. There is some target opportunity there with the recent loss of Will Dissly, who was seeing decent target volume before his injury. But it's not a sell the farm situation. It's more of if you can get him at a flyer price.
I like this move. I like this move more for the NFL aspect and for the fantasy aspect. I think Gordon and now I think even DK Metcalf are going to be just a plus version of what Paul Richardson was. And even I guess at that point, Tyler Lockett, when you saw Doug Baldwin. Lockett is the guy you want to own as a more consistent producer. We see week in and week out. Gordon and Metcalf are both going to have fantasy relevant weeks from time to time. Maybe one or the other, and sometimes it'll be both. What Wilson can do and the amount of attempts that he's been getting on a per game basis is what makes this intriguing. But it's going to be how quickly can Josh Gordon get acclimated within the offense. And I'm sure he's not going to be the number 3 guy right away. You may see him, number 4 in snaps behind Deron Brown, who I believe is their 3 right now. I do expect him to be the 3 within a couple weeks. But it's one of those things where if you're deep into your playoff matchup, throwing Josh Gordon out there is really a haymaker. He's going to have, I think, maybe one game this year where he puts up real big fantasy numbers. But I think this is a really good football move for this team in general, as they can really strike fear in the people's eyes when you have to try to single cover both Metcalf or Josh Gordon. And then
not their hearts.
On
We're going straight to their eyes with fear.
Yeah,
not the hearts. The eyes.
Everyone's cowering in fear.
Strike fear in the eyes.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a t-shirt. Somebody make it.
Yes, right now.
Browns wave safety Jermaine Whitehead after his Twitter tirade for the ages. This is not fantasy relevant so much as it's just kind of sad and funny all at once. Highlights include calling a reporter a cracker, telling multiple people to, quote, get this smoke, tweeting out his address where they can apparently come get that smoke, and I can only assume he didn't mean barbecue. A missed tackle, a 75-yard Noah Fant touchdown, a suspended Twitter account, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Now, somebody make that a shirt.
Yeah, so
Nice.
Jermaine Whitehead just all over the place on Twitter. He got himself cut. Which
Yeah, he's
have.
probably done with football. In one amazing Twitter rant, as found himself probably
Now,
out of a
that's
job.
how you go down in flames. Antonio Brown, take note. It wasn't slow and painful. It was just a straight explosion.
No, he went up in smoke.
Up in smoke. And he got that smoke he was threatening to give people.
That's right.
Hangovers.
All right. In the world of injury, there's no timetable for Brandon Cook's return. He suffered a concussion. He's got a long history of those. So Josh Reynolds will slide in. Cook's really kind of having a down season anyway, with Kupp and Woods being the more productive wide receivers there.
Yeah, I mean, this should give an uptick to Woods. Should see a little bit more of a floor here. Boost, ceiling, is whatever. But, I do agree with you. This is a bigger boost to Josh Reynolds. Just
Again.
depends on it just depends on this Rams offense. They're not the same explosive offense that we've seen from the last couple of years.
Nope. Justin Jackson estimated as do not practice. I'm yawning. Estimated as do not practice after seeing his first game action since week 3. Only 7% of snaps for him. We'll get into that backfield here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs is listed as limited participant on the Raiders' estimated injury report with shoulder. I expect him to be limited in practice and still playing games as he is a little banged up.
Yeah, all season he's been like that.
Yeah, Colts wide receiver Paris Campbell is going to miss time following a hand fracture. Kind of a disappointing season for him, rookie season for him, given all the hype that was around him coming in.
I think last week, I think this Sunday was the first chance he really had to showcase everything. No TY. He finally got healthy. And they gave him opportunities to make plays, a couple fumbles in that game as well. But you got to see his actual dynamic on the field, and it does suck because there's a lot of talent in him. Super athletic, and a team that's, looking beyond, TY as he gets older.
Jacoby Brissett suffered a sprained MCL and the Colts lost to the Steelers. He does reportedly have a chance to play against the Dolphins this week, but I don't know why you would. Brian Hoyer should be capable of beating the Dolphins. I don't see a reason why you would try to rush him back here, honestly.
No, this should be an easy one. But Ryan Fitzpatrick has given the Dolphins life, apparently.
Yeah, against the Jets, though. I mean,
they put up a game against Pittsburgh, which again is insane much given it's Mason Rudolph and not Ben Roethlisberger. But it's not like Brian Hoyer is striking fear in people's eyes either.
No, he's not. But he should be serviceable enough.
He is. He threw 3 touchdowns against the same Pittsburgh defense last week, which is a lot better.
Do you think we can talk about Brian Hoyer for 45 more minutes?
Do we really want to talk about Brian Hoyer for 45 more minutes? Where the fuck is he on here? It's not on the. I wanted to see where he finished.
No,
it's not updated. It's not updated yet, though.
Hold on. Fantasy Pros, or where you at?
Yeah, I was on Fantasy Pros.
Oh. Yeah, don't know.
Yeah, either way, don't care.
All right. I lost my spot. Damn it. Deshaun Jackson, core muscle surgery, out 4 to 6 weeks. Lost season for him.
Yikes.
Mike Zimmer provided a non-update on Adam Thielen. Quote, whenever the doctor says he's ready, he is ready. Thielen re-injured his hamstring against the Chiefs.
They should have learned from last year not to rush back an important piece of the offense.
But yet, here we are. Dolphins wide receiver Preston Williams is going to miss the remainder of the season with a knee injury. Kind of disappointing. Williams was surprising a lot of people as a undrafted free agent that came in with some off-the-field issues. Actually, it made the most out of an opportunity on a bad offense and was really their only rosterable fantasy piece, honestly.
He had 60 targets in the 8 games or so that he played, which is encouraging from a rookie receiver. He was more of a preseason darling. Him and Josh Rosen put together some nice games during that time, and then really found his groove the last couple of weeks when Ryan Fitzpatrick took over. Had a couple of touchdowns this week.
77-2.
Yep, sucks to see, but
72-2.
Yep.
He was on pace for a decent season. 8 games, on pace for 850 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's a solid year.
Yeah, and 120 targets. So
yep.
They'll take it.
Absolutely. All right. Jets running back Le'Veon Bell underwent an MRI on his knee Monday. Adam Gase is reportedly unclear on the severity of the injury and unaware that there was an injury in the first place.
How the fuck does he still have a job? Honestly.
I don't know. I have no idea. How do you not know that your star running back is getting an MRI on his knee? How are you clueless to that?
It's probably because he doesn't even like Le'Veon Bell, and he's just trying to find ways
get rid of him
to ruin everything. This offense has so much. There's There's potential on this offense, and he's the fuck.
Adam Gase, killer of potential.
Ah, Jesus,
good old crazy eyes.
Unless it's a slot receiver, then there's a lot of potential.
Looking at you, Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, right.
Hell, he made Kendall Wright relevant.
All right. We got a question from Jimmy.
All right, Jimmy.
What's up, guys? What should I do with Keenan Allen? dude, it's killing me. Do I play him versus Oakland or do I shop him around? Trying to shop him, this is probably the week to do it. Oakland's pass defense isn't necessarily good.
I mean, shop him and see what we can get, but I wouldn't sell it at a huge bargain, I guess, for the reason you just said. Oakland's pass defense is not necessarily great, and it was a weird game script last week for the Chargers. I don't think anybody expected them to just walk the Packers like that. And he's got Oakland, Kansas City coming up, then a tough matchup against Denver, Jags, Vikings, Raiders. So, yeah, I mean, if you kick the tires, see who's interested. If you can, maybe wait until after the Kansas City game where he should hopefully get some value back in one of those 2 weeks.
I mean, they got their bye week, week 12.
Potentially
I don't
try
know
to sell them on bye.
Yeah, I'm not sure when your trade deadline is in your league. It's got to be coming up here within the next week or two, though. If you're going to try to move them, it's got to be after Oakland. Otherwise, you're going to have to just sit and hope. Besides the game against Green Bay, he did have back-to-back double-digit target games, so they're still trying to get him involved. It's just the Chargers' offense has been really fucking weird. Since
that in Chicago, Tennessee,
like 8 or 9 games.
I mean, and when you look at Chicago, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Denver against a Chargers offensive line that hasn't necessarily been fantastic either. I mean, those are teams with solid defenses. So you got to do it, though, like Dan said, after the Raiders or the Chiefs game, because when you get to the Broncos and, the Broncos game, it's going to kill some value. And then if you still have them after that, you might as well just hold on for Jags, Vikings, and Raiders again.
Yeah. Like, it's going to look good in weeks 15 and 16.
Yeah.
It may be in Jacksonville, but
yeah, we're still trying to figure out what they are without Jalen Ramsey. It's been a mixed bag.
Yeah.
So, all right. OJ Howard declared ready to roll for Week 10 against the Cardinals.
I can't wait for 3 catches for 31 yards.
Depends. Cameron Brate may have more played out of necessity last week than health. So, if Howard truly is healthy and Brate isn't, then maybe you see something, I guess. And Delaney Walker declared himself comfortable enough to practice as he showed the walking boot he was in. That doesn't sound like healthy.
Just let him sit.
Not a vote of confidence.
Just sit the old man down and tell him it's just not going to be your time, and give the reins to Jonnu Smith, which will make everybody around happy.
It's just time for Jonnu Smith. All right, let's go ahead and kick into Pick Your Six. This is probably my favorite part of the week outside of Sunday streams, because we actually just get to talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Yep.
Pick Your Six.
All right, let's go ahead and start with Josh Jacobs. I'm not sure what context you want here, so the floor is yours.
All right, I just wanted to kind of give. I mean, so we talked about him just a little bit last week during our midseason awards show. I just kind of wanted to kind of give him a little bit more time with this. Likely going to be your offensive rookie of the year unless something happens with Kyler Murray and he kind of blows up second half, or one of these other rookie quarterbacks or running backs kind of tries to take over. I didn't have really much for notes written down as I worked all day, but what he's done so far in terms of Josh Jacobs, 6 touchdowns on the season. Unfortunately, he's only scored in 3 games, so 2 touchdowns apiece in actually all of his games. But I think it's been more of I've been a bit surprised by this. I expected to see a little bit more competition early on in the season, especially with the missing time in the offseason. John Gruden's love of Doug Martin, I expected that to kind of showcase more throughout the early year as he tried to get Josh Jacobs acclimated into a full bell cow role. We've seen the effects of it. He's been banged up for the majority of the season, but he's been able to play through it. He's on pace for a pretty nice season so far. I get his nose passed up. I thought we were going to talk about Minshew, so wasn't as prepared. I apologize.
You're all good. Doug Martin, I think, was either cut or on IR.
He got cut. He got cut.
He was cut for the season started. I think the thought was that And really, this still hurts Jacobs to a bit, but Dwayne Washington is still involved, as is Richard.
Yeah,
But
well, there's also that point too. A lot of us expect him to have more of the passing game in hand. He's had no game for more than 3 targets. While he's done a lot with those work, I think he's only had maybe a couple drops, if any. But it's just been he's been the one that's been able to pay off, I think, on his fantasy value through it. He's had 3 games over his past 4 weeks. He's had over 20 rushes. Again, with those multiple touchdown games, though he doesn't have the consistency in touchdowns, but there never is. In those 3 games, he's gone well over 100 yards. He's easily over 4 yards per carry. He's almost at 5 yards per carry. I guess the question is for you, just to kind of put this in a bow here. If you're redrafting today, is Josh Jacobs a 2nd round pick?
yes. So I got a question today on Twitter, tweeted directly at me, and wanted your thoughts on this. Let's just frame it up. Let's give him a comparable.
Okay.
And this was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be when you go look at the stats. Josh Jacobs or Chris Carson, rest of the season?
I know that Oakland's schedule is extremely juicy, which is another reason why I want to talk about this, because with trade deadlines coming up, I think he's worth the buy. Even at the price you're going to have to pay for him. Chargers, Bengals, Jets, Chiefs, Titans, Jaguars, Chargers again. And just wait to lean on him. Let me pull up Chris Carson real quick.
Like I said, it was about dead even. Carson, I think, had 3 touchdowns to Jacobs' 6. They were about the same in yards per attempt, very, very similar in yards. More receiving upside and a worse schedule on Chris Carson.
Yeah. The touchdowns aren't there. Just with them passing more, I think, throughout this, even when they get into the red zone, that's where their tight ends get a lot of work. Upcoming schedule: Philadelphia, Vikings, Rams, Panthers, Cardinals. I agree with you on a difficult schedule. I would probably take I take Josh Jacobs from what we've seen on the ground.
I went Jacobs by a hair.
Yeah, but I see the reason why you take Carson. I think Carson's has a bit higher floor because of the pass catching upside.
And he is still getting a bit more work than, I think he's got like 30 more carries on the season than what Jacobs does. So still getting a bit more work, a little bit more receiving upside. But Jacobs has a touchdown upside. He's being utilized. The problem is that Washington and Richard have both been at least relatively efficient with the touches they've been given, which has prevented him from truly taking over. It's more of kind of that he's still getting 60% of the carries and the others are like 20-20 or 20-10 or whatever. But he has been efficient with it, and he has been. I think when you look back on this and you look at the 3 rookies that we were kind of talking about is, draftable pieces. Miles Sanders, I think, has been exactly what we expected Miles Sanders to be. I think Josh Jacobs has exceeded expectations, and I think David Montgomery's coming along, but he hasn't been there all season like Jacobs has.
I agree. And a lot of that has to do with the offenses, with the play calling involved. Oakland's offenses really surprised people, and Chicago's has taken a massive step back. A lot of people expected.
That's true. A lot of people thought that replacing Jordan Howard was just going to be, all right, cool, they're good. We're perfect now.
Well, they said it was Jordan Howard with hands. It was Matt Nagy year 2. It was, Trubisky year 3, year 2 with Nagy. You get Robinson year 2. You get Burton and Shaheen, Anthony Miller. You bring in Patterson. There's upside to be had, and it just hasn't hit, and that's affected David Montgomery. You have weird game scripts and game plans where they don't get him the ball. He's looked good with his touches so far, but he's been inefficient with them. He's had big plays masked by a bunch of small, inefficient ones. Maybe that has to do with the offensive line. Well, Josh Jacobs, durability is still a pretty big concern for me, as we've seen from this year. He's definitely embraced and taken on that workload, which has far exceeded my expectations for year 1.
Yep. Speaking of Jordan Howard, just something I want to do in the intro real quick. I'm going to gloat a little bit about a couple things I called and give you a chance to gloat about a couple things you called. I wanted to to toss some highlights out there if we wanted to and take victory laps, since that's what everybody's doing this week.
What the fuck, dude? It's been so bad.
More on that in a minute. Jordan Howard against the Bears. I called for a revenge game, and that definitely happened. I think he was the running back 17, maybe is what I had. Running back 14 going into Monday night. So that definitely panned out. Had a touchdown, some decent efficiency running against his former team. And the other one I called out was Josh Allen, and I did that really to underscore a point. And we didn't get to talk about these because we skipped that show. But I called out Josh Allen as a sit to underscore a point because there were so many analysts, including Matthew Berry, hyping Josh Allen up like he was going to be a surefire quarterback one, and just have this exceptional ceiling because they were playing Washington. But the fact is, when you get a bad team like Washington or Miami or a team like Chicago because of their offense or whoever, where the offense doesn't necessarily keep up, the game script goes negative, and that really puts a capper on the ceiling for a quarterback, which is exactly what happened to Josh Allen against Washington and why I call them a sit. Now, for us to claim victory on a sit, they've got to be outside of the top 12, which puts them in streamer status, which is kind of that, okay, if I sat them, it didn't kill me because they're replacement level, but if I started them, it didn't kill me level.
Yeah.
That's why we consider that a win. And he came in as the quarterback 12, so he needs Daniel Jones or Dak to outperform him in order for me to take that victory lap officially. But I mean, the passing wasn't there. Under 200 yards, one pass touchdown, one rush touchdown on 12 yards. And it's because what did they do the second half of the game? Just ran the football. Yep. Drives live and played defense because Washington couldn't do anything to them. And that's exactly how that game script was expected to go. So just to underscore that point and to why I made that call, it's because bad offenses are better for wide receivers and running backs. Playing a bad offense, rather. Better for wide receivers and running backs. Wide receivers are likely going to get theirs early, and it's going to be just one guy, probably.
Yeah.
And worse for quarterbacks, because there's not a ton of volume to be had.
You got to hope that they can get it within the first. And, it's a lot of points that were hit home during the early parts of the season with Miami. It was, if you're going to play these guys, you have to understand the risk that's coming with it. And that's the team that gets up ahead early. And that's going to, it's going to ease back to play backups and run the football more. And you got to hope that in the scores they make in the first half of the game are all passing touchdowns.
Yep.
That didn't happen this week. I mean, it did, but just one rushing, and then they leaned on the game because their defense knew that there was no way that Washington was going to score more than 16 points anyways.
No.
2 scores and that game's in hand already. It's all about knowing the opponents that you're playing against. I get to you, Laura, Josh Allen, but to me, it seemed pretty obvious that this wasn't going to be a top 3 week. It could have been, but
yeah, but
you had to.
That would
have to have been first game. A lot of big plays that really hasn't happened.
Washington would have had to came out and been able to keep up.
Yep, and that too, which we knew wasn't going to happen with. Let's be real. Dwayne Haskins played better than we expected, but
Bills' defense is they're good.
Yeah, they're a good defense.
And they might not be necessarily fantasy good, but they don't want to play a lot of people against them good.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of defenses that are supposed to be good, let's go ahead and have a little vent session because both you and I had our emotions toyed with a little bit over the week. So I'm going to bitch about the Bears and you're going to bitch about the Vikings here. So the Bears were going to allow me to be cynical through the first half, I thought. And I'm fine with being cynical. I'm a Chicago sports fan. I grew up watching the Cubs, grew up watching the Blackhawks. Can't really throw the Bulls in there. Grew up a Bears fan. I mean, you're used to being cynical with long periods of just absolute futility. And you can live in cynicism as a Chicago sports fan. But then the second half started. And the offense decided they were going to show some semblance of an NFL offense, and start playing in the third quarter, whereas in the first quarter it was run everything up the middle and throw screen passes. Decided to start throwing the ball down the field. It's a novel thought. And boom, 2 scores, time left in the fourth quarter. All of a sudden it looks like they might have a shot at it. And then the defense can't get off the field. What's supposed to be the calling card can't get off the field on fourth down, multiple third and long situations, cannot put the Eagles away, who engineered a masterful drive and led to yet another loss. It's been frustrating for anybody that owns Bears players. If you own the Bears defense, you drafted them super high. And the fact is, when the offense can't sustain drives, the defense suffers. It's a well-known fact. That's exactly what's going on here. And the offense, I think, has become predictable. And I don't know what they do to get out of that. It's a limitation of Mitch Trubisky. It's a limitation of the play calling that they're making. And screen passes and runs up the middle are predictable. And everybody knows how to play it, and everybody knows it's coming. So I don't know what they do to get more creative. But, second half helped with some of those downfield shots. Just ain't it.
Yeah, I guess for them, if they want to try to salvage this season, I think you got to bench Trubisky. You have to see what you have in Chase Daniels. And that's not saying that he needs to be the QB of the future.
You know what you have in Chase Daniel, but if you want to salvage it, you need to put him in there and let him do his thing, which is sit in the pocket and actually pass and run the offense, because he showed when he started he does that better than Trubisky does.
Yeah, it's the teams know with Trubisky out there, he's rattled. He's where Mayfield is. He's where Darnold is. It's what we saw, with a lot of young QBs that don't get the confidence given to them. Maybe it's the play calling. Maybe it's the playbook in general. Maybe they can't read defenses. Maybe defenses are showing him looks that he can't, break out of pre-snap looks that he can't read, and it just falls apart right away. And that falls on the coach to kind of see that, either work with them to get through it, or let the backup get in there, and see what you have for this season. They're 3-5 on the year, and the season is not far from over.
No.
I mean, all four teams in the NFC North lost.
Right.
So there's no loss. There's no ground loss in this.
But the problem is, and there's two schools of thought, and I really think that is the offense limited by Trubisky, or is Trubisky limited by the way that they're calling the offense because of him? And I almost think it's the second one, that they're trying to be too conservative with it. They're not letting him fail. They dial up downfield plays, and he can make those throws, but I think they're trying to be too safe with him, which is going to ultimately stunt his growth, and I think it has. I think that they've got to take the reins off and just, if you want to believe in Trubisky, then you need to live or die by him and actually run the offense with him instead of dumbing it down and keeping it simple. And if he's going to fail, he's going to fail, and you need to know that. You need to know whether he can do it or not.
That's a great point. We'll also get into this when we get into Jacksonville, but you also have to commit to a running back, and they've done that with Montgomery. A strong running game is going to help in so many different ways. Takes the pressure off the quarterback, can help keep the defense off the field, keep them fresh, keep them, hungry for that. And it just kind of gives a semblance of something there. Stop trying to get cute with Cohen. They've stopped using Mike Davis, which has been great. But I think it's Matt Nagy just kind of getting into his own way. I mean, you have great offensive weapons. Allen Robinson,
Trey Burton's not being used.
Yeah, and even that's an issue. And now, because of the lack of confidence in Trubisky, he's missing throws that I think he could normally make.
Yep. Speaking of throws that should normally be made and things that underperformed and coaches shooting you in the foot.
There's everything.
Go. Have at it.
Like, there's this, when you watch the Vikings game and you watch the first three throws from Kirk Cousins, you just knew it was not going to be a great Kirk Cousins game. For those of you out there that didn't watch the game and looked at box scores, will not see this. His game, like, he could have been the best quarterback this week in fantasy easily. He missed a would have been touchdown to Stephon Diggs that would have been at least 50 yards. Would help put that game away early on, or not put the game away, but help give some cushion to it. And he's just like, he looked rattled. He's on the road. This is the biggest game of the season. Even without Mahomes, we've seen from Matt Moore and we've seen from Andy Reid time and time again. He can draw up a playbook and plays in a game on any given week and make a mediocre quarterback look decent. You allowed Damian Williams for 91 fucking yards, up pretty masterful with it during this 4-game stretch. He had some plays Sunday that looked good, But towards the end of the game, especially our last 2 drives where we've gone 3 and out, it just looked lost. This is supposed to be the 3rd worst run defense in football. And granted, there's been injuries there that have helped against the Chiefs for that. But you have Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs in football, and you can't find ways to get him going. You can't use, there wasn't enough screen plays, outside runs, whatever. If you can't run up the middle, find ways to get that to work. Whether that be, off tackle runs, toss plays, screen plays, and they ran some screen plays and they found success there. And the defense has been an absolute shit show this year. Rose and Wayne should both be benched. Mike Hughes has played far better and has been our best cornerback right now. And while Holton Hill probably shouldn't be starting, Mackenzie Alexander, I think, has some merit to see what you have, in him, as a true outside receiver. They won't do it because they're proud, but there needs to be some changes, within that secondary. They held the Chiefs to a 2nd and 28 on the second to last or third last play of the game, and you gave up a massive 3rd down throw or 2nd down throw to Travis Kelce to help get him back in the field goal range and ultimately win that game. It was unacceptable. But as a Vikings fan and a Minnesota sports fan, I've come to growing accustomed to this, and I'm trying my best to not get too upset about it again.
Yeah, not getting Cook going is really kind of inexcusable. I mean, 7 targets, 21 attempts, I guess. And again, in the box score, it doesn't really line up with, did they not try to get him going? I don't know. I see Diggs was involved in losing Thielen. It just dud of a day. Everything seems fine. And then you realize that, it wasn't. Do you place the blame on the defense? Do you place the blame on the offense's inability to sustain drives? Do you place the blame on the fact that you're there and might have the game won and Zimmer calls an inexcusable timeout? I mean,
there's not one person. And most losses you can't blame on one person. There's always ways to find issues.
Definitely a team loss.
This is a team loss. And this is but this is also a game that you still had a chance to win, despite everything, despite the defense again giving up a lot of big plays. Yeah. When you blitz Matt Moore and you stop blitzing Matt Moore, when you found success of fucking blitzing Matt Moore and drawing out plays, they had 2 chances at sack fumbles that they could have really tried to take that game away. You miss an extra point. You can't miss an extra point. Like that extra point, puts them up in theory 24-23 and changes the entire play calling. You try to run, you're trying to run it down. Everything changes if Van Bailey doesn't miss that extra point as well.
Yeah. All right. On to Gordon and Eckler, away from us ranting. So, I'm assuming this is going to be a try to break down the Chargers' backfield, and I just think it's more regressing or returning to now that Gordon's back and has his sea legs under him a little bit, more what it was before, which is you're going to see Austin Eckler, but the majority of the work is going to go to Gordon. Eckler is going to be efficient in the touches that he does get in games where the Chargers are up like they were this week. Eckler is going to have some more opportunity over what Gordon does, and apparently there's going to be a sprinkling of Justin Jackson, but I think they're just regressing to what they were.
I mean, it's the game where Melvin Gordon finally had the majority of snaps. You can say it was because of how the game was. They kicked 5 field goals.
Yeah,
to me, it always felt like the Packers were in it still. I mean, you're holding these, the offense could never get it going, and granted, that's what led up to a kind of blowout game, even though the score may not say otherwise. But they always felt like they're in it. Gordon had 63% of the snaps. I think Eckler had 24, or had 27. You have Eckler still commanded 15 touches in that. So when he's on the field, they get him going. I think Eckler's value is it's probably risen a bit. Not in terms of what he was at the beginning of the season when he was the lone back to own there, but I think it's the fact that Melvin Gordon hasn't been able to get it going this year, just 3 yards per carry. has not looked himself. Granted, you expect him to struggle the first couple games as he gets back up to football pace. With the offensive line, it's sucked. The offense in general, I think, has looked a bit out of sorts. And Austin Eckler has been the lone bright spot. I was a bit surprised that they went this hard away from him, as they could have used him to kind of help put the game away more. I wanted to shed that light on that. There's still a couple weeks left in the within this trade deadline season. Is there anything that you're doing with Austin Eckler? Are you trying to trade him? Are you trying to utilize the fact that even though he lost some of that snaps, he's still going to be, I think, a decent point in this offense? It's just the whole team has looked kind of out of sorts, at least in my eyes.
I think it depends on where you're at and where Austin Eckler is at, really, in your depth, right? Or how you're stacked at a position. Because, I mean, obviously you can say that about every trade, but I think that if you've got a surplus of running backs, then Austin Eckler, there is absolutely merit to selling high, right? Yeah. But if you still have two other backs that you're going to plug in and start, and you're looking at flexing Eckler as your 2, I think you're fine with that also, and you hold them. I don't think that you have to sell Austin Eckler to get any value out of that right now. I think that you still have week-to-week value out of Austin Eckler. I just think that if you have a surplus at backs, say you have Ronald Jones on your bench who can serve as your flex, then Eckler is going to be worth more to you in a trade than what he's going to be just kind of hanging out there, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's kind of where I sit with it, though. I mean, it's all based on team, but I think that if you've got another viable option, then yeah, you try to sell high on him, because if Gordon gets it going and can keep it going, then yeah, he's it. They're going to run him into the ground. He's close to free agency.
Yep.
So, all right. I know you're expecting to talk about the Jags quarterback situation leading in, but I did this for a reason.
That's fine.
It involves segues, and you'll figure that out here in a minute.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson's segues is in transitions, not as in the wheelie things. Lamar Jackson. I want to talk about his development, though. I got to sit down and watch the Ravens play exclusively for probably the first time since week 2. And I just wanted to talk about what I saw out of Lamar Jackson. A lot of people taking victory laps, and you should be. He's been good. And I made the tweet that as Twitter's losing their mind on Monday night about Lamar Jackson, that I don't think he's unlocked his final form yet. So talking about Jackson's development, I think that throws are sailing less. I think he's looking more comfortable in the pocket. And I think that you can see progress in the passing game. That being said, there are still some things that I noticed out of Lamar Jackson early that I think can be improved on and open up an additional level to Lamar Jackson's game. That's not saying he's bad right now, but there is still a lot of 1, maybe 2 read and take off. He still doesn't look like he's keeping his eyes downfield when he decides to run. There was one play where he actually did a decent job of keeping his eyes downfield towards the sideline and keeping the play alive. But then when it came time to fire it, rather than get himself set or show that body control that you see out of some of the better quarterbacks at throwing on the run, think Mahomes or Rodgers, it was more of a kind of jump, spin, ugly type of try to throw thing that missed the receiver by about 10 yards. So there's still improvement from... I wanted to open it up to discuss Lamar Jackson because I think he's good right now. And I think that the Ravens are very, very smart the way that they built the offense and that they're running it around him and they're catering the offense to him. But I do think there are levels to his game yet that he can still improve on and unlock, which is going to make him even more dangerous in years to come, which means I think we could still be in a buy window for Lamar Jackson, even though the price seems steep, because I don't think you've seen the best that you're going to get out of him yet if he continues on this career arc.
So since the Ravens were 2-2 in week 4, they're in their 4-game winning streak. Lamar Jackson has thrown 2 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, but he's ran the ball over 14 times per game and has scored 4 rushing touchdowns during that span. We don't know who Lamar Jackson is right now.
We know he can run.
We have a good idea of what he can be during this moment in time. and that he's a very dual threat type of quarterback that can give you passing upside when you give him that, when he's thrown into that opportunity. This is an RPO offense. This is an offense that thrives off of rushing the football, letting defenses guess who's going to be taken off with it. Both Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards has been fantastic with that. Brendan and Mark Ingram might be the most has probably been their best move in terms of this year, in both free agency and the draft. They drafted players that will help him develop and still run this offense. They brought in a coach last year that is comfortable with developing dual threat type of quarterbacks. See Michael Vick and Robert Griffin when he broke out in his rookie year. And we got to see Lamar Jackson kind of become more of a mental player in this. He had, I think nearly every game last year when he started, he had either a fumble loss or an interception. This year, he's lost a total of, I think, 4 fumbles. Or not lost. He's had 4 fumbles, has lost none of them. He's only thrown 5. He's thrown 5 picks, but in 2 total games, which is, yes, not great when he's throwing multiple picks in a game, but he's only had 2 games this year where he's made, when that's happened. So you got to see, you're seeing him kind of evolve his game into being more of a dual threat game manager, where he's not giving away the game, but he's doing everything that he possibly can to keep this, to keep their drives going, to keep the running game going, to keep himself from not committing turnovers. Like, we're not going to see Lamar Jackson be a Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson type. Like, he may get there at some point, but if that happens, you may be losing some of the rushing upside, which brings into the point of, do you treat this like with Cam Newton, where you want to try to take away his rushing ability and have him become a pure pocket passer, or guys like Michael Vick, where he was never asked to do that, but over time, his athletic ability kind of, with age, he lost the old man age. You always lose the old man age. And he was never a great pocket passer to begin with. You can guess and say that that's probably going to be Lamar Jackson's arc if all things remain the same. But I agree, there's still a lot of upside. The guy, he's still young. He's still proven it. People run week in and week out. He is a quarterback.
No,
it's just that he's a dual threat running quarterback in a league that's starting to transition more into that.
So I have a little bit of a problem saying, not a problem, maybe it's a weird way that I'm thinking about it, but when you say dual threat running quarterback, what comes to mind for me is a guy like Russell Wilson that is going to give you maybe 500 yards a season versus Lamar Jackson, where it's dual threat in a different sense, to where it's
true. That's true.
The dual threat quarterback is typically a guy that passes first, that has the ability to run and gives you rushing floor that is complementary to his passing. With Lamar Jackson, the passing is almost complementary to his running. And
yes.
So, not to take anything away from the progress he's made, that's not the point I'm trying to make here at all, is taking away from the progress he's made, because I let in by saying that that's absolutely noticeable, and it is. It 100% is noticeable that his throws aren't sailing more, that he's standing around, that he is better from the pocket, and he's not running at the first sign of pressure or anything like that anymore. But all I was saying is that, and it's not to say he's going to be Mahomes or Rodgers, I get that.
Yeah, no,
but from a longevity standpoint, you don't want to change what he does, but you'd like to see those traits continue to develop to unlock that next level of his game of being able to read the field and being more selective with when he does take off and run, or when he's running, being able to make those throws on the run if he notices something open downfield. Because if he's running and the defense is keying on him and you got Hollywood Brown running 40 yards downfield free, you want him to hit him rather than take the 10 yards on the ground. And that's the only point I'm making there, is you want him to be able to make those throws. And that those are the two areas I see with Lamar Jackson to where I think he could still level up. I know, and I want him to continue to progress there from what he's already done. I want him to continue to build on that, and those are the things I want to see. It was just more of a takeaway segment of, from watching him for the first time in 7 weeks, where I see his progressions at, and where I still think I want to see more.
Yeah, and this kind of really speaks to just people taking victory laps. Lamar Jackson has played 8 games this year. Played 8 games. He's played a full season so far in terms of He's 16 games, I believe, total.
15.
15. It means
Started
he hasn't.
15.
It means he hasn't played a full. He hasn't even played a full complementary of games yet. That he started, and there's still so much more there. I mean, like you saw, people were with Colin Kaepernick. Saw people were with Robert Griffin, even though he was more injury related than it was just whatever. But you got to see where, like, from a fantasy perspective, these type of quarterbacks are supposed to be amazing,
and they are
rushing floor with passing upside. Honestly,
it's rushing upside with passing floor. Let's call it what it is. 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns is the rush line in 15 games. 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. The pass line is just over 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, 8 picks. That is rushing upside with passing floor.
Yep, and that being like,
that's fine.
That may be
especially
what he
for
may
fantasy.
Be for
that's fine.
Yeah, and like that may be who he is for his whole career. Given some ups and downs for because it won't be the same thing every year. He's going to go through stretches where he struggles. He's going to go through stretches where he's going to look amazing. He'll always have that rushing floor until they decide to pull Cam Newton, try to pull that back, or until old days catches up to him. Yep. He's young. There's still he can do this for probably 8 more years easily.
Yeah, barring injuries, which is what you worry about with somebody that takes that many hits, right? And he never had that problem in college, and he's not had that problem so far in the NFL, and you hope to see that and continue to see that. But from a longevity standpoint and really solidifying himself as somebody that I think right now has the potential to be the number one quarterback in fantasy for years to come, and solidifying that he will be, it is the difference here in what he can still evolve in the passing game.
Yeah.
So, again, not taking anything away from him. I think that the strides that he's made from year 1 to year 2 are exactly what you want to see. Still room for improvement, and that's the focal point on kind of what I want to get to next here. And I want to do some player comparisons with you.
Okay.
We're going to do some guessing.
Ooh, fun.
All right. Comparison 1. Player A, 6'4", 229 pounds. Player B, 6'2", 225 pounds. Similar size.
Sure.
Player 1, 135.9 burst score, 99th percentile.
Okay.
Player 2, 131.1 burst score, 91st percentile. Player 1, 11.88 agility score, 4th percentile. We're super fast, but we aren't agile. Player B, 11.56 agility, 14th percentile. Again, both guys got a lot of burst, not super agile. Through their first 9 games, Player A, 54 targets, 29 receptions, 525 yards, 5 touchdowns, 53.7% catch rate, 18 yards a game, or per reception. Player B, 9 games, 60 targets, 41 receptions, 539 yards, 5 touchdowns. So, pretty similar stat lines. Yep. Slight edge to player B in targets and receptions, about equal in yards and touchdowns, more yards per for player A, similar athletic makeup. You know who they are?
Man, no.
All right. Player A is DK Metcalf and player B is Des Bryant.
Okay. I was assuming one of them was Metcalf.
Yep. A is Metcalf and B is Des. And I want to make this comparison because there's a lot of people taking DK Metcalf victory laps. And they're not wrong. There's a lot of people getting upset with people for taking DK Metcalf victory laps. And they may not be wrong either. You made the point that you can't judge from even one season or a handful of games what somebody's going to do. So what you can do, though, is you can try to draw a historical arc. In DK Metcalf, what I've seen, he's no longer the one-route guy. However, he still lacks quick twitch in his routes. You look at the plays he made, there was one play where he absolutely failed to separate and on a stop and go, got inside position. Wilson made a beautiful throw, and then he just manhandles a defender with that athletic talent. There's another play where he actually does get behind somebody on, I believe it was a post route, And then he kicks it into second gear and just absolutely takes off, which is what he has the ability to do.
Yep.
So, like Lamar Jackson, I wanted to make this a transition point here. DK Metcalf is having a great season. Seattle is using him in the right ways, and he's showing what he can do with that athletic talent. He still needs to develop into a better route runner, period. That's not saying he can only run 9 routes. He's shown he can run more than 9 routes. But unless he develops that quick twitch, what you're going to see is the Dez career arc, where through his mid to late 20s, the guy's going to be a superstar. He's going to be a complete all-star. And then he's going to regress. Because, like you said with Lamar, old man time catches up, and if you don't get the nuances down, like Larry Fitzgerald, for example, you're not going to last because that athletic talent will leave you. And DK Metcalf may be the most athletically talented person we've seen in a long time. He's being used right. I think that he is going to be a wide receiver 1, probably as soon as next year, and for 5, 6, 7 years to come. But extending beyond that, there are things that you need to see. Otherwise, you are destined to have a Dez Bryant career, which is not a bad one. But if you'd evolved the game or learned the nuances of the game instead of relying on pure, raw athletic talent, could have been better.
So there's also a couple things that may not see him reach the Dez Bryant heights. Dez Bryant commanded targets. A lot of them. Shit ton of them. It's him and Romo. Jason Witten sprinkled in X, Y, B, Z running backs. Another wannabe, number 2 and 3 receivers during that span. I believe Doug Baldwin's best season with Boston was 128 targets. I believe. And that was playing out of the slot. Amazing route runner, amazing after the catch.
125 targets, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. Baldwin's best season. And for
a lot of what I'm making here is that I don't think he'll be asked to command that. You still have Tyler Lockett, who's still very young.
Tyler Lockett's on pace for over 135, 140-ish.
He might actually, and that may be also due to the fact that Seattle's throwing more because their defense has been bad for the first time in who knows how long. They were bad last year, but they ran the ball a lot more because they could. There's a lot of upside to Metcalf that's never gone unspoken. There's also the downside, his injury risk in college.
Yep.
His injury risk here now for a guy that size. And all it takes is, one back cut, one run hit. You saw it in college there too. I don't know if he'll reach Dez Bryant heights in terms of target share, which is probably what he'll need to get there. But there's always there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to put together a Dez Bryant type of season, at least one.
Yep. I just wanted to give it some.
I think it's a great comparison. I do,
because everybody's losing their minds one way or another. So let's try to level and draw a historical comparison there, and there is one. So
let's not try and take in a victory lap 9 weeks into a player's rookie season.
Exactly. It's not say it hasn't been good.
Still very much developing as a player.
Yeah, you don't know if he's going to be elite yet or not, even though the physical talent is definitely there.
Yeah.
See Josh Gordon. All right.
See Darrell Beckham Green.
Darrell Green Beckham. Yes. All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Number 2, taking a different route here. We are going to look at fantasy points per game over their last 30 games. All right.
Okay.
All right. First off, since 2015, player A, 21.5 points per game. Player B, 22.1 points per game.
Wow. Okay.
Over their last 30 games. What the numbers say is a average game, streamable area. 18.3 points per game for 20 to 24 points per game. All right. That's kind of in the middle of the two tiers. Player A, 30% average games. Player B, 24%. Those are weeks where they're not in that elite top 7 or so, but they're not outside of the top 12 or 13.
Okay.
So edge to player A there at 30% to 24. All right. For the next breakdown, what I looked at is elite games, which is over 24 points a game. And for comparison's sake, the only people that averaged over 24 points a game in 2018, Patrick Mahomes, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, and somehow Ryan Fitzpatrick. Don't know how. Player A, 43% of his last 30 games have been over 24 points. Player B, also 43% of his last 30 games have been over 20 points. And this next one is what really stands out for me. So below stream value, which is under 18 points. To give you an idea who lives below streamer value, Andy Dalton, Blake Bortles, Joe Flacco for 2018 were in this area. 27% for player A, 33.3% for player B. So slight edge in fantasy points per game since 2015 to player B. They're equal in boom games. Slight edge to player A in number of bust games, that he's had fewer and has had more average games. Do you know who player A and player B are? Probably not based on that.
Is one of them Drew Brees?
No.
Fuck. That'd be my one go-to. Is it Aaron Rodgers?
Nope. You'd think, right?
You think with those two, with the consistency and just with the downtick in play, since 2015.
That comparison is Jameis Winston to Cam Newton.
Okay.
And I wanted to point it out because
I love it.
Jameis Winston gets a lot of a bad rap for being boom bust and mostly bust, whereas everybody wants to love on Cam Newton for the fantasy upside, right?
Right.
But the fact is that over the last 30 games that they played in the fantasy season, so I threw out week 17s because who cares?
Yep.
Jameis Winston has a higher number of games over that 24 point, has a higher number of games average than Cam Newton and fewer bust games. He's less boom bust than Cam Newton with the same amount of boom. Less bust, more equal boom for Jameis Winston as Cam Newton over the last 30 games. Just a thought I had that I wanted to take a look at that and see what the numbers actually said. I don't really have a reason for throwing that out there, especially with Cam not playing, other than just it's been a few weeks since I've been on a Jameis gets a bad rap tour.
That's fair.
So just want to throw it out there again and remind people how good for fantasy Jameis Winston has been and can be, to the point of where it's better than Cam Newton levels of good for fantasy.
I just think a lot of people harp on his turnovers. And this is speaking of Jameis Winston. The fact is, unless you play in a league that really penalizes turnovers, it's not that big a deal. Like, let's be perfectly honest here. If he throws 4 touchdowns in a game at, let's say, 4 points per clip and throws 2 picks, that's still 14 points.
Not counting yardage. He threw 4 touchdowns. He probably threw for 300 plus.
That's still 12 points for just touchdowns alone. That's not counting yards, which Winston gets a lot of yards. He threw over 4,000, I believe, in his first season as well. It's just people want to harp on that. Does he have bad games? Yes. Does he throw at times more picks than touchdowns? Yes. But picks don't get penalized that much. Most leagues, picks are worth are worth -2. And with most leagues moving to 6-point touchdown leagues, who the fuck cares then? Like, if you're playing in Scott Fishbowl where picks are far more hurtful to your team, especially pick sixes, then yes, you can hate on Winston a little bit more, and that does matter. But in your normal home league, work league with friends, whatever, even most of your competitive leagues, where -2 is generally where it sits at, and a lot of those leagues have moved to 6-point touchdowns, like, you can't hate on Winston for that.
No.
Is he a great NFL quarterback?
No.
Yeah. No. Is he a good fantasy quarterback?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, he is. And it's frustrating sometimes. I get it. But again, just putting the scope on things, less bust than Cam Newton.
Yep.
You get more consistency out of Jameis than Cam. Also, probably frustrating with the Fitzpatrick thing that went on for a couple of years also. That I could see why and know exactly why that pissed people off.
last season was rough. I don't know what Jameis's career arc is anymore. I don't know if he's going to be the QB of the future for Tampa Bay. He may do enough to retain that the same way Andy Dalton has for Cincinnati for so long. But he hasn't been as bad for fantasy as people want to make it out.
He's on pace for a career high in yards, touchdowns, and interceptions. So
that is a Jameis Winston season for you.
It is a Jameis Winston season for you. Gunslinger. And yeah, not rushing. Although still solid there too. Just not Cam Newton levels of rushing for him.
That's not as
And that's why I didn't compare direct stats anyway, because different types of games, but results.
Yep.
All right, last one. You ready?
Yep.
And if you're using your context clues, you'll get one of these from the way that I structured this segment.
Okay.
All right. Player A. This is through their first 9 games of their career. All right?
Yep.
So kind of like what I did for DK and Dash, for the first 9 games of their career. Player A, 61.24% completion. Player B, 61.97% completion. Both have 13 touchdowns. Player A has 4 picks. Player B has 8. Player A has 42 rushes with 235 yards rushing and no touchdowns. Player B, 45 rushes, 155 yards, no touchdowns. Virtually equal in completion percentage for their first 9 games, equal in touchdowns. Player A has fewer interceptions, more rush yards on 3 fewer rushes. You know who player A and B are?
I know A is Minshew.
Yes, A is Gardner Minshew.
But
again,
that's
why I built this as a segue into your Jags segment.
That is. I don't know who player B is.
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson. Okay.
Player B is Russell Wilson's first 9 games.
Sure.
So I wanted to put Wilson in there just because of the rushing, basically.
Yep.
That's why I wanted to put him in there. I felt like it was a better comparison. So if that says anything about how good Minshew has been, it's rookie Russell Wilson levels of good, but better with less. I would reckon. So
I guess their issue is not being bailed out with the defense. I'm not going to say bailed out because Minshew's played even far better than what I expected. But I think Seattle's defense was, I think, on that cusp of elite, while Jacksonville is kind of now in a weird retool.
Yeah.
And by no means when we jump into the Jags quarterback segment, am I starting to hurt on Minshew? Because I'm not.
Note on attempts, by the way, they were pretty well equal there too. I don't know why I didn't write that down, but attempt wise, they were pretty equal as well.
Yeah,
as far as pass attempts.
God, Wilson was good his rookie year.
Yeah. So was Minshew.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and talk Jags quarterbacks because I think there's only one answer to this.
Yeah. The answer should be Minshew in what this situation should be like. But because you got to play devil's advocate, and I think the situation is a bit different than it is with Russell Wilson. Wilson came into his rookie year as a starter. He didn't. It wasn't given to him based on injury. Well, Seattle brought in an overpriced free agent to be the bridge quarterback while Wilson got ready. Wilson outplayed Matt Flynn and got that spot because of that. Again, I hate the fact that I have to hate on Minshew about it for it, but it hasn't really been because of Minshew. It's the fact that it's 4-4 as a starter, which is actually better than what you expect from a 6th-round quarterback. It's been fantastic this year. No doubt in that. 13 touchdowns to 4 picks. He had a hot start to that year. Through his first 5 games, he threw 9 touchdowns and 1 pick. His last 4 games, he's thrown 4 touchdowns to 3 picks. The 2 games where he hasn't thrown a touchdown yet. And I think it's the fact that
yet they're still going on.
And yeah, right. It needs to be Minshew's job, but I think there's going to be a lot of points brought up to why you may want to see what Nick Foles is. It's not like Nick Foles was having a bad year. He was 5 for 7 for 72 yards and a touchdown, which he threw on that play that he got hurt on.
Yeah.
It just depends what Jacksonville wants to do with Minshew. He wasn't a 1st-round pick. He wasn't a day 2 pick. Like he was a pick that was supposed to be there as a developmental quarterback that maybe steps in and plays because your starter got hurt, that you can flip for draft picks.
Who apparently didn't
on.
have to develop that much, honestly. And
hell no.
And that's what you have to worry. And I get it. It's hard to make an argument for me for Nick Foles because you've got a total of basically a quarter and a half of football to go off of.
Yeah.
So you could argue that you haven't seen what you got, but when you've got a team that's, I believe, in the playoff hunt, what are the
They are 4-5 right now.
Yeah.
They are firmly in third, I think. I think they're like the AFC South is going to be pretty competitive.
But 500 is still at least in contention for wild card. So, I mean, what do you do, right? Because we talk about London games being throwouts all the time. He still went for over 300 yards. I didn't see the 2 picks. Didn't see how good or bad they were or whatever. It's a London game. You look at the other games where he had no touchdowns. New Orleans, about the time their defense started playing really good. And that was just a weird game anyway, it looks like. And that's it. Those are the 2 games without a touchdown. Those 2 games are 3 of his 4 picks. The other one was in that first game against Kansas City. So it's just hard to take somebody that's having that good of a season with that much of a comp and say, all right, yes, he's bailed us out. We're competing most of the time. We're winning. So let's stick him on the bench. I just...
if Nick Foles was sucking, I think it'd be a lot easier. But
it's not like you have this huge track record of Nick Foles was good. He was good for a couple drives. It's not a Cam Newton situation where he's been good for you for years and you really know what you've got. You've seen more Minshew than Foles at this point. So the question is, are you comfortable with what you have there, or do you feel like something needs to be different? And I think looking at the result set, the answer is no.
I don't think they should move the Nick Foles.
I know you're trying to play devil's advocate, but if you're playing devil's advocate, that means I'm playing on the side of the good guy here.
I think they will move the Foles. I think they paid him the $100 million that they pay him. They obviously see something in him that most don't. The fact that they're 4-5 and the Minshew, while he's looked good, the team is 4-4 with him, which isn't good or which isn't terrible. But I don't think 8-8 or 9-7 is going to get them to the playoffs. And they may feel like, because they just paid Nick Foles all this money, who's also coming off of a Super Bowl 2 years ago, which probably plays in that as well, may give him that chance to run the table. And we're just talking redraft. I'm not talking dynasty where you can get into way more.
Yeah, I don't want to get into dynasty either.
I'm far more nervous about Minshew and dynasty than I am in redraft. But I want to bring this up because it's a, this is fantasy, and we want to try to keep you guys as at least up to date as we possibly can.
You're not going to inform. You're just going to listen to us argue at this point because we don't know the answer. We don't have sources. We don't have insight to this.
We don't know shit.
It's just,
and most of the people don't know shit. And a lot of it has to do with guys like the only people that actually know are the Jacksonville guys making this decision, anyways.
Right,
and they will probably.
And what it comes down to is what type of message are you sending your team? Right.
Yep.
If you put Nick Foles in, how much does that disrupt the chemistry of that team for a guy that's played basically a quarter of football for your football team?
Yep.
And a team that's been really competitive in every game but the London one. I mean, their losses are 13-6, 27-34, and 13-12. So did the defense play well enough to win some of those? Yes. Could Foles have made a difference? Maybe. You don't know. He wasn't there. We've seen Nick Foles be both very good and very bad.
Exactly.
So you don't know. And it just becomes if they put Foles in and Foles struggles, do they go back to Minshew? And then do you create that sort of disrupt or do you stay the course? And I don't know. And I don't even know, honestly, when they have to make that decision. Is Foles practicing? I haven't even seen when he's coming back. So,
well, they're on a bye week this week. I've heard rumors that he'll be back or could be back week 11. I mean, obviously we'll need more update to that and more terms to that. the fact that I've seen this float around more and more on Twitter as of recently, it's a talking point that's worth talking about because Minshew's leash is going to be shorter with Foles back and healthy, if he's healthy. If if Minshew comes off of a game like he had against Houston, regardless of where the game is being held,
Well, and that's,
loss is a loss regardless, even though we like to, make play on what London games are, and they're generally just throwaway games.
yeah.
But, Minshew, outside of his game against the Jets where he threw 3 touchdowns, like he's looked a lot better when he started the year. And I think that's kind of come back down to earth since that New Orleans
he
game.
had a bad game against New Orleans. They kind of steamrolled Cincinnati. We talked about game script earlier in the show. He only had to throw 32 times, I think.
That's still a lot of throwing.
I mean,
for a game that should have been put away. Again, I don't want to hate on Minshew. I want to bring up the fact that it's you could see a change.
It is.
And it wouldn't shock me if a change does happen.
Anyway, we need to.
Yeah, we'll move on.
We need to move on because we could argue about this all night, and there ain't a damn person that's going to be right until the end of the season when we look back and say, well, did they, didn't they, should they have, shouldn't they
and even
have?
then, we won't know the the repercussions of that until far into the off season.
Right. Let's hit a beer review. I'm out of beer.
Beer review.
All right. I've got Joe Madden's Try Not to Suck German lager from
Haymarket.
That was it. Good call. Review on this is going to be short because I'm out of it, and I normally will take a swig of it so that I can describe what I'm tasting as I'm tasting it. Overall, though, very, very crisp, very, very light. Not necessarily on flavor, but more so in body. You definitely get not a hoppiness, but definitely more of a light grain, subtle sweetness like you typically do out of most European style anything. So just overall, wish I'd got these when it was 90 degrees outside and I would have drank them by the pool because they're super light, super refreshing, very easy drinking beer that I think just has a good flavor profile. Not a whole lot of unique or specific flavors to pick off of it. Just very, very solid.
And I got 450 North Zombie Nuggets. I was a little bit better because normally I would have my beer finished by this point. I did say myself at least one sip of this. It's a spoiler. It's pretty good.
Was that the review? Are we going?
No,
back?
It's not.
We're going full old school here.
No. He goes, "Oh my god, suspense alert." It is very much as it says. It's a double dry hop, double IPA. Citra Mosaic are your 2 months use. Hops in all New England style beers, especially nowadays. It's very fluffy, creamy, a lot of juice, a lot of flavor on that. It's a bit boozy, which is to be expected from a double. The pour itself is very cloudy, very hazy. If you're looking for a very traditional New England style, you'll find this is what this is. It's hard for this to be bad. I've been very impressed with what I've had from 450, so this doesn't shock me. If you're ever down in that Columbus, Indiana area, I would recommend, and I know you do the same, to make the trip and hit that brewery up because it makes.
Let's be real. You ain't gonna be in the Columbus, Indiana area unless you're harvesting corn. So if you're in Indy,
unless you're mistaken it for Columbus, Ohio.
Right. If you're in Indy, make the trip because that's the closest place you probably have a reason to go.
Yep.
All right. Let's hit the beer goggles and get through this quick. I know most of mine are this is the part of the episode where we talked about filling in boxes, and that's exactly what I did.
Yep.
Beer goggles.
All right, this is the point of the season where this segment becomes kind of mundane because everybody that's consistent is rostered. Nobody's really breaking out per se. You do have some potential returns, but good guess. And we actually wrote down the same person, and I didn't even realize it. But anyway, go ahead with Kareem Hunt. I bet this narrative starts with he's coming back from suspension and might have a role.
He's coming back from suspension. He might have a rough 59.2% owned. He may have been dropped due to injuries and bye week, by apocalypse from your league mates out there. Really, is the Browns need some sort of life injection into their offense, and maybe Hunt's skill set may help with that. I don't think he'll be much more than an RB flex option, but if you can find those on waiver, you're not doing too bad.
Yep. All right, I'm going to toss Jimmy Garoppolo out there. This is probably a precursor to somebody that might be in my streams the next couple weeks. 6 touchdowns, 1 pick. He's got Seattle and Arizona coming up over those next 2 weeks. Niners defense has been good, but especially the Seattle game, I expect them to actually have to come to play ball, which bodes well for Garoppolo. So just a preemptive stream pickup for Jimmy G.
I love him against Seattle. We'll see if game script pulls up against Arizona.
Yeah, even if not, I mean, whatever, he'll still be startable, I guess.
I mean, he was startable against Washington.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Darius Guice, I bet this starts with he's coming back from injury, and
this starts with he's owned in 32.6% of leagues, but he's coming back from injury onto a team that desperately needs something to give his fans to. I expect Guice to get some run if he's back, to at least get him some game shape or some gameplay.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson's not the future. They need to show them what the future is to keep the fans excited during this season. So
there might be some upside there if the offense starts to click a little bit.
Yep. All right, Myles Gaskin. I didn't even bother to look up the ownership percentage because I know it's
0.3.
Yeah, I put 0.0 probably, but
I see that.
I guess there are some dynasty leagues on ESPN for some inexplicable reason.
Hey, we're switching. Hey.
Anyway, Mark Walton got suspended. That means something with the last name of Laird and Myles Gaskin are the only 2 rostered running backs right now for Miami. Haven't heard of the other guy. He apparently was kept active because of his special teams work. Myles Gaskin, though, we do know he can be, at least at the college level, was an effective runner, had some explosiveness to his game, could definitely play outside, kind of a Kenyon Drake style of player, but smaller. More James White-ish, I guess. But either way, Myles Gaskin probably has the most talent of anybody left on this roster. He's free. And if you need running back help, you might as well take a dart throw and see what happens, because there is a weird chance that he could at least give you some value down the stretch.
I mean, it's still Miami running backs. Kalen Ballage is still the starter for whatever that's worth. But again, if
looking for efficiency,
if you're just looking for a running back to roster so your opponents can't roster because you're not going to play him, then you can roster Myles Gaskin.
Can't wait for the Kalen Ballage victory laps because he scores a touchdown on 40 yards off of 20 carries.
And one of them, it should be 18 carries for 183 yards, and one play went for, or it should be 101 yards and one play went for 90.
That's probably going to be how that works, too.
That's good. It's going to be Damian Williams.
Ugh. All right, we both had Jamison Crowder down, and this is purely volume for the most part. He's got...
And plus matchups down the stretch.
Plus matchups, too. Next 5 weeks are plus matchups.
Yep.
He's got 28 targets in 4 weeks, and he's got the Giants, Washington, Oakland, Cincinnati, and Miami the next 5 weeks.
Yep, that's pretty much it. He's, slot receivers with Adam Gase has been the only thing Adam Gase has produced with a work note, so...
Yep. All right, looking at cuts. Peyton Barber.
Ronald Jones is the starter. Peyton Barber is terrible. I don't even know why he's still owned in 47.4% of leagues. With the news that dropped, there's no reason to keep him rostered.
All right, I got Josh Gordon because he's going to be a week-to-week start. Maybe if he turns into anything in Seattle, he's 54% owned, and I needed to check a box.
Checking boxes. Here we go.
All right, Larry Fitzgerald.
This one pains a lot of people because of the promising start to the year. But 11 targets over his past 3 games as Christian Kirk has worked himself back into this offense does not bode well. This is not the Cardinals' year. There's no reason to keep Fitz out there, and you have to start seeing what your 4 drafted receivers have, and then obviously Kurt as your starter. So Fitz, it's unfortunately donezo for me.
All right, Mark Walton for me. Why? He just got suspended for 4 games and hadn't really done a whole lot else. Yep, that's my analysis on why you should cut Mark Walton, who's 52.1% owned. Because he's suspended and he was terrible, and that 4-game suspension puts us in week 13. And if you're trusting Mark Walton in your fantasy playoffs after he hasn't played and Myles Gaskin is taking over the starting job, don't know why. You probably shouldn't be winning championships if you do that. All right, you got Valdez-Scantling.
47.3%. Has clearly become the number 3. Is probably going to start losing snaps to Lazard. Who has become a better down the field player. He was still number 2 this past week, but again, I expect that to change as it went on. I think the trust with Rodgers has completely been lost. So,
yeah. All right, I got Baker Mayfield, 49.4% owned because Freddie Kitchens is still his coach.
This is your weekly reminder to not have Baker Mayfield rostered in a redraft league.
Yep. All right, you got a dynasty darling to talk about. I'll hit the drop, whatever. Haven't done that in a while.
Sure.
Dynasty Darlings.
Kind of like this idea of just making a complete mockery out of waivers and cuts at this point in the season until something really relevant happens.
And at that point, everybody knows about it, so there's really no reason to talk about it anyways.
Right.
I like this segment because every now and then we get to actually talk about somebody that could have some dynasty relevancy, and I love dynasty fantasy football. Deontay Johnson has taken over this number 2 spot in Pittsburgh. I think that's pretty noticeable to see. On this show, we like to preach about production when you start to get snaps and you're starting to run your routes. And Deontay Johnson has hit that in tenfold. I believe he ran 21 routes in week 8 and had 8 targets. That's pretty fucking good. In terms of his route, that target share per route run. He's of course been earning that trust from Mason Rudolph as the Pittsburgh offense has started to change because of the Ben Roethlisberger injury. And the fact is that they have a long history of developing receivers. While we didn't agree with Deontay Johnson with that pick when it happened, especially from a field and from a combine metric standpoint, it didn't really stand out much. Pittsburgh has found ways to make him usable. He is beating out both Moncrief and James Washington. And he's kind of been one of the brighter spots in this receiving course. Juju has kind of struggled with the consistency. As being the true number 1 receiver.
Hey, since it's a late show, Amari Cooper came back in the game. Since it's a late show, we can go ahead and actually determine. Yes, Josh Allen did get bumped out of the top 12. Dak Prescott outperformed him.
I was going to say he had a huge day.
Yeah, Prescott 22, 35, 257, and 3. So, yep. Find a White Claw.
Oh, I lost?
Yeah.
That's right. Did I?
Yes, we were tied, and I was waiting to see if Josh Allen got bumped because he was sitting at 12. And I needed Josh Allen to get bumped out.
Oh, he's a sit. That's right. I'm sorry. You're right.
So I needed him to get bumped out of the top 12 for that to count.
All right, I'll drink a White Claw.
Yep, that's what we're going for. Never had one.
Good.
I just want to hear you review it. So,
I mean, I shotgunned it truly, so we'll see what White Claw does to me.
And that's a show. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you still want to tune in next week to listen to Dan drink White Claw, go for it. Going to try to keep it looser down the stretch, keep it more fun for us. We'll be back on Wednesday with starts and sits and streams and checking more boxes.
Checking the box segments.
Beerfield FF on Twitter, Beerfield Fantasy Football on YouTube, live stream Sundays at 11 at 3BFF. Dan, parting words.
We'll see you next week.
We will see you next week.
I mean, on Wednesday. We'll see you Wednesday.
What was that comment you made about eyes earlier?
Eyes?
Fear in the eyes. They're going to impart fear in your eyes.
We're going to impart fear in all of your eyes.
Actually, if you're watching on YouTube, we probably will.
See ya.
Yeah.